Welcome everybody to the first, potentially of many, who knows, Witcher Monster Slayer AMA. I don't know how this is going to go. I have everything set up. We're technically live streaming. We're technically recording. I technically have audio. Charlie in the chat is there. Hey Charlie, I see Chorney is there as well. Welcome along everybody. Hopefully the sound and the audio quality is good. Please let me know if things are not working out well. Ship is there. I've got one of my mods in chat, guys, which is good. He's there with the ban hammer if we get shit from anybody. But big shout out to Tarax and Habrock for joining me here today. Thank you guys for taking the initiative. I know originally in my mind I had some sort of podcast planned and eventually, and then I think Tarax, you reached out to me, or I think you both were involved in, like, let's do something, let's get an AMA going, let's see what we can get involved in. So yeah, we're going to kick it off today. Welcome everybody. I had sort of planned potentially, if you want to take turns, I would like to know, introduce yourselves a little bit, potentially a little bit about your gaming background, gaming history, what games you've played in the past, what games you like, you don't like, genres and stuff like that, and then maybe why you got interested in The Witcher Monster Slayer. So maybe Habrock, if you go first, if that's okay.
Yeah, basically I've been playing games since the late 80s.
Yeah.
So back on an XP computer, text-based gaming. Got into strategy mostly. So we're talking Warcraft, Starcraft, all of that. Got into World of Warcraft for a while. Mostly play RPG games. And I will get crucified by everyone. I've never even finished The Witcher 3. I'm about a third of the way through. Ran out of time. Just work always kept me busy. I've actually been traveling for the last 5 years. This is the first time I've been in one place for more than a year in a long time. So actually managed to play games. So while overseas, I got into mobile gaming. When Pokemon Go came out, Harry Potter, all that sort of thing, I thought, well, I'm traveling so much, I'm going to kind of use this as a way to go and see the sights. And when The Witcher dropped, I just jumped in on that because it was different to what was out there at the time. And with what they've only just released, I'm loving it. Like, I'm going about the neighborhood, walking about, and it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. How happy were you when they released this game only in New Zealand first?
So happy.
Kind of used to it. It wasn't the only game. So I had just gotten into the new Catan that came out, and someone put a post on Reddit saying, if you're not a fan of Catan, check out The Witcher. Just because it's a completely different playstyle.
Yeah.
And so it depends on what you're into.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's another game that had just released in New Zealand, so I had to change my iOS store from where I used to be in Europe to over here.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of games that they test in New Zealand. And with my background, New Zealand has always been a testing ground for all things technology, gaming, you name it. New Zealand has the perfect demographic for what people like to test. And so they test new products all the time, services, you name it.
What
it's good to be here.
What is this demographic that you speak of? What is the?
It's just because we have a lot of people sort of in a contained geographic space who move around a lot.
Okay.
We're relatively active as a population, so for AR games, right, they like it because there's only about 5 million of us, right, which translates into, I don't know, maybe 10,000 people in an AR game test. Yeah, and people move around.
Yep, great age range, ethnicities, backgrounds, socioeconomic, you name it.
Yeah,
we have that bell curve that everyone's looking for.
Yeah,
and we're early adopters.
Yeah,
New Zealanders are known as early adopters of technology and new things.
Cool.
And so people jump on board early on, test it, and by the time they get sick of testing or using it, it's ready to roll out.
Nice. Cheers for that. Thank you for the intro, I appreciate it. Tarax, do you want to give us your little spiel?
Yeah, absolutely. By complete coincidence, because Habrock and I have never talked about this before, it sounds like we started off in about the same place gaming-wise. I think I might have been on an 8088, slightly before the 286 era. But back in the day, it was mostly platformers and proto-action games, back before things like Doom existed. But I think around late 90s, I flipped to RPGs almost exclusively around about the time Fallout came out. And I've just been playing RPGs pretty much since then. I distinctly remember, I think it was 2006, there was rumours of this Witcher game coming out, the first one. I kind of camped whatever the internet was back then to learn about this thing, which seemed really exciting. Played Witcher 1, 2, 3, went for a while, but I went a bit of an addiction, so I had to stop. Like Habrock says, we get all these AR games here so early that, I've worked my way through all the Niantic games, played Ingress for a little bit right at the very start, but didn't really get what it was. Pogo, Wizards, a bit of the Minecraft one, Minecraft Earth, although that sort of died a quick death, sadly, but it was a weird AR game. And I think they sort of unofficially announced this game, it must be like 18 months, maybe even 2 years ago now, and I've just been sitting waiting for it to show up. Then, as you know, those of you on the Discord knows, I'm obsessed with collecting things. So even if it didn't have this awesome gameplay and quest stuff going on, I'd just be sitting there filling up my Beast 3 and keep me happy for years.
I love that conversation in the chat. It's like, what are they going to add to it? And you're like, wait, none of you have got to level 3 in the Beast 3 collections yet, so shut the hell up. What do you mean there's nothing to do?
Yeah.
None of you are close to level 3 on everything.
I've been trying. I've been really trying.
Everything.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. From my own perspective, I actually play Pokemon Go. It's the only other AR game I play. And I played it on release, completely bounced off it after about a week. I know the game released pretty bare bones and probably didn't have a huge amount, and then just didn't stick with it, didn't go back to it. Then I came back a few years later, played it for another little bit, got into it, bounced off again. Then I got a wind of this game, and like you guys said, like it got released in New Zealand. I kind of just, I don't know, maybe followed the account on Twitter, and they said, okay, throw your email in. We're going to announce a few more soft release people closer to the launch day. And I actually tracked it for ages until I realized I checked my spam folder, and about 2 weeks previously I'd gotten an access code. I was like super pissed that I hadn't been accepted, and I saw the tweets. I was like, this is bullshit. And then I checked my spam folder. I'm like, you have been accepted to the game. I was like, you mean I could have been playing this game for 2 weeks and I only realized now? But anyway, we're here. So the next part of this I wanted to talk about was, I suppose you guys have been playing this in September. Let's say, I don't know what, like in terms of player numbers, like I have to imagine somewhere above 60% and above players who are playing right now were not playing back in September. Like I don't know what the percentage of people playing now were playing in September, like numbers wise.
It's much higher now. Back when the unofficial Discord started, which was literally I think day 1 or day 2 of the early beta in New Zealand. I think we did a poll early on. I think about a couple of weeks in on the Discord, and I was, I think, one of 2 players playing in New Zealand. Everybody else had just sort of hacked their way into it via the iOS store, and I felt like maybe a couple of hundred people back then. But if you assume that go on.
Yeah, no. I was going to say, it wasn't a lot of players. You'd see the same names pop up all the time.
Like, do you think it was like?
I'm not sure. I was
just saying, do you think it was like hundreds rather than thousands of people, or like tens rather than hundreds? Like, I'm curious to know, like, what the kind of, and maybe over time more and more people got access. And then like you said, the hacked people, like people will hack this stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Hack's a little bit of a stretch. Literally, all you had to do back then was change your iOS store location to New Zealand.
Yeah.
I'd go with 100 just because there's always going to be a number of the player base that don't log on to Twitch or Reddit or anything like that. And so it does take a bit of time for it to really get out there. I mean, if you look at the current Reddit Monster Slayer subreddit, there's 1.3 thousand.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not that many people.
It's not huge.
As part of that Reddit.
And I actually that brings me to a point that I want to chat about. I'll leave it till later, kind of like when we're talking about like hopes and dreams and stuff like that. But I wanted to, so bring us back to September. So you've got access to this new game. What does the game look like? What, like, I suppose, Tarax, you first. You go first. Like, what does the game look like? What are your experiences? What are your initial thoughts of this game?
So initially you open up the game and you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of like another AR game. I can see some stuff around me. I'm going to have to walk somewhere. I think there were 3 quests in the game back then, or maybe not even that. The quests might have been patched in later. And you sort of sit there and you go, okay, I know what to expect here. I'm going to have to go around and collect a whole lot of stuff. And then you click on the first monster and you just die. You go, wait, what is going on here? And I think for the first couple of months, any new player who came in was like, I don't even know how do you fast attack, right? Nobody could figure out how to fast attack naturally, because it may have been a bit more twitchy back then. I don't remember.
I actually got that
I remember posting videos of taking a video of me playing the game just so people could see how my thumb was moving to switch it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is quite different. This is this is skill based, might be a little bit of a stretch because it's a twitchy skill.
Yeah.
But this is quite a different thing. And again, this is before there were quests, before there were anything. I think we were all looking at Nemetones going, those seem terrifying. Nobody wants to touch one. And this was back when Nemetones didn't regenerate health after each fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really engaging because you were. I remember people were saying, I can't just walk around and play this game not paying attention. You can't, like in Pokemon, you can walk down the street and do this, right? And people are going, hang on, I actually have to stop and play this game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. This is pretty much what I want in a Witcher game. It's keeping me moving. I'm catching monsters. It's not that straightforward.
Yeah.
Just give me more of this.
Yeah. And Tarax, you? Or sorry, Habrock?
Right, so I think I came in about a week after launch, just because, well, I don't quite remember, but I remember there were the 3 quests, and I hit the first one because the introduction is you graduating from Witcher school. And so I jump in, and I've got this, what is it? One of those hag monsters, Devourer maybe? Anyway, I'm trying to kill that, absolutely get wrecked by it. And then you get to try it again because it's spawned right next to you. It's the only way to, go forward. So kind of get the hang of it, hit the practice dummy for a bit, realize, oh, there's fast and slow attacks. But in the tutorial at the time, it says just swipe in an hourglass fashion and slow for strong attack, fast for fast attack. But what I've realized not long after is you've got to raise your finger. You got to lift your finger off for a fast attack. Just swipe quickly. Yeah. And so manage that. Start going about trying to do the quests, and I go for a walk around my neighborhood. But where they've positioned these quests is miles away, and you couldn't relocate. Like, I think the relocate quest button didn't work until you're at least 10k away or some ridiculous distance.
It was worse. It was 30 kilometers away to relocate.
It was so bad.
Oh my god!
And here's the thing: I'd gone for a drive out, and so the original quest that I've gotten after the first one, so this is the first free quest that you've got, is miles away. And so I finally managed to relocate it. It's up the road, but I live at the top of a hill. So I've got to go all the way down a hill, up another hill, on the other side of this bridge that I live by, miles away, up this tiny little street. And I realized that it's on private property. And I kind of take a few steps and I can just reach it. And then you've got to kill a fucking gargoyle. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear. You've got to kill a plain gargoyle. And you've got to pick the right option to try and attack or whatever, right? And so I managed to pick the wrong option 3 times, or twice, whatever, until I get the right option. So I'm getting wrecked, standing in the middle of this little suburban dead-end street, where people are just looking at you funny. You're like, what are you doing? And then I managed to, on the way home, come across a Nemeton. And I'm like, what's this fancy-looking tree? I've got no idea what this thing is. So, of course, I've seen a little bit of talk in the Discord. I decided to pop on it and went, oh, look at that. 3 monsters to kill. I'll give it a shot. First one wrecks me. I'm like, I'm not giving up on this. So I drop a few potions. Get into this, go again. Manage to kill the first one. Get to the second one. Get absolutely destroyed because I've got no health. And it just keeps resetting time after time. I'm like, all right, I see what's going on here. And so, I found it quite difficult. I actually stayed away from Nemeton for quite a while after that because you don't have the potions or the skill or anything. And then my skill tree was an absolute mess for so long. Yeah, it took a little bit of time and effort, and I thought, well, this is kind of a thinking game.
Yeah.
You've got to really put the time in, the preparation, and if you're going to do battle, know what you're fighting, learn their moveset, and the movesets have changed over time. Monsters got easier and harder. At one point, they made it so difficult that Discord blew up, and everyone's like, what have you guys done? This game is way too difficult now. Like, wow, like they lost it. And it was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just to clarify for people who are watching and haven't been a part of it, correct me if I'm wrong here, but is that the biggest change that Nemeton? So when you're doing for those of you who don't know, Nemetones are like the kind of dungeon mode, if you know what I mean, where you fight 3 monsters in a row and you get gold rewards and you get like the most amount of XP. You don't unlock it until level 10. So if I understand correctly, originally you didn't regenerate health between each monster. Is that correct?
No.
Yeah, that's right. So first of all, there didn't used to be a level limit on them, so you could literally jump in at level 1 and get destroyed.
Okay.
And yeah, you didn't regenerate health between battles. So what that meant was that everybody just shoved the swallow potion on, which regenerates health, right?
Yeah.
And and so but even then, Nemetones were sort of balanced differently back then, and baiting was different, and it wouldn't be unusual for you to head up a Nemeton and see the extreme bar there. And even when you were starting out, an extreme Nemeton, even if you've got all your potions and your stuff right, you could still fail quite easily if you weren't paying attention.
And you got to remember, back then, the swallow potion wasn't as strong. So the swallow potion used to regenerate 1% of your health per second or something like that. And later on, in one of the later patches, not all that long ago, they changed it so it regenerated health between Nemeton as well. And so you'd pop a swallow, and it would help you out for a bit, especially with the Manticore armor. But between Nemeton, you still had your health regenerating, but not with that extra boost. So after a while, the swallow potion actually let you regenerate to full health between fights. And now they got that's still there, but the Nemeton does it for you. So basically, they made swallow potions less effective.
That's right. And what's interesting about that, for those of us who've been there for a while, is that sort of trained us to be better at the game than we need to for them now. And I think that's actually true of the game overall. And one of the striking things about it is that you start off and you're not very good, and you progress and you get better. But some of the getting better is the skill trees and unlocking more abilities and stuff. But I think a lot of the getting better is the way the game trains you to get better and the practice you get at doing. Again, it's still, kinetic, twitchy sort of practice. But again, that's not necessarily something I've run across in an AR game before. It's effectively training you to get better at it, as well as giving you things and tools in the game to be better at it. So
and one thing else, it's also trained you not to be precious with your resources, as in if you need to use a potion and oils to kill something, don't just go, I've only got 3 of these in my inventory, I'm going to save them for when a hard monster comes along. So no, just use it. Use your potions, you get rewarded for it with XP, and you end up killing a monster, even if you take barely any damage and you've got a perfect run. Using that stuff, you can just replenish it later, because getting monster parts, at least now, I know for a while with the swallow potions and baits, insect parts were in premium, but just use everything that you've got all the time.
I would agree.
You will be able to regenerate it.
As a newer player, I think originally, I think gaming trains you to do that. Like, yourself, you've played those games where you end the game and you have like 100 of the most powerful missiles that you never shot because you beat the boss. Because you were so good at the game, you beat the boss with the most basic weapons, and you never used the nuke at the end, because you're like training yourself to I need to hold on to this until a real enemy comes along. So definitely, I find myself just using potions now, because even crafting times are not that long. Even if you're not playing the game all day every day, you still every 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you can craft enough potions. Hearts, like you said, are relative. Like, monsters are not scarce for the most part. They're evenly spaced for the most part. Like, I can only speak from my area, so I assume maybe everyone's area is different. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, with the potions now, I'm pretty sure this is a relatively new change, but you don't require specific monster parts for potions anymore.
Just
now they're just generic. Only the oils need specific monster parts. And that's a recent change, because before that, I used to make a lot of swallow potions. At one point when they're on special and Nemeton gave you unlimited gold, I bought like 200 swallow potions. I've still got about 100 left. And so I went a little bit too far.
That leads me in. That's a very nice segue into my newest point, where I have absolutely limited sympathy for you guys who have like had harder Nemetones when there was no fucking gold cap, and you are Richard, and you're like, which is the best armor, guys? I don't know. I like to pick whichever one I want, forgetting that the rest of us have to grind for literal months to get the one of them.
So I have all the armors unlocked kind of accidentally.
You bought one by accident.
I did buy one by accident, but back when there was no confirm prompt in the store, and I was like, oh dear, I've just, spent all this money.
I just want to point out, so just really quickly, Ship in my chat is one of my mods. He knows me well. He knows I'm a whale. He's currently using the credit card emote. He knows what I'm going to do when this game launches on Wednesday. He knows what I'm going to do.
The gold thing aside, the equipment's so interesting because it's nothing gives you like a massive advantage.
Correct.
Most of the armors, most of the armors give you something minor that sort of augment your playstyle. Like every game, certain things are better and OP over time, but there's nothing sort of now that Meltith is nerfed. There's nothing sort of stand out. Fantastic that you absolutely need. You can pick, if you're someone who loves to cast signs all the time, buy the sign sword. If you're someone who gets really good at getting perfect crits, buy the crit sword.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like even the potions that you use go with your playstyle. So I mean, use the potions that buff your signs if you're a sign player. Use the potions that buff your melee or any damage if you're that type of player. If you know you're going to get hit a couple of times, pop a Wolverine potion. Once you get below 50, you're gonna smash them. It's
that's actually one of the newer changes too, because there were optimal strategies for a while there. Nobody was using the science potions for a period of time because there just wasn't any point. You could do much better, but they've done a pretty good job of balancing so close to release, and I'm sure they'll continue to do it. That the basic gameplay is the same, but there's a bit of variety for playstyle there.
I like that. I like the fact that you make a very good point. You can play how you want to play, like you said. Personally, me, not great at hitting crits, so I tend to stay away from stuff that bonus buffs my damage for crit damage, because I'm like, I'm only going to hit 1 and 2 of these, you know what I mean? So like, I don't want to waste my time. I want to do something that like I can guarantee damage with. I'd be really interested to see, like, I want to figure out like some sort of turtle up build with Quen and like deflects and stuff, because I feel like I'm quite good with deflecting, so like that would be kind of an interesting thing. I'm interested to know, as you said, as the game progresses, obviously as they get like a huge influx of players in, like, that big data will kind of dictate what they do in the future as to what players are trending towards in buffs and nerfs and stuff like that.
Yeah, for a long time, people would only use Ard because with skills, you would delay the attack by a second, which was enough for you to get a few hits in and get ready for a block or a parry. It does damage as well. And Quen was left by the wayside. No one used it whatsoever. I forget what user it was. It might have been King Hoppy. He put in an argument for Quen. And then I kind of gave it a shot. And with the damage reflect and what it does, it's now become part of my normal gameplay, where I will selectively go with one or the other, or what the vulnerability is. Because if you've got Quen active, and this is pre-Meltith nerf, you could just smash out some damage without losing your crit meter. And you would absolutely destroy any monster, whether they were vulnerable to fire or silver or not. And you just did so much damage, and then you just go back to a normal kind of rotation. So
I see there's a question in chat about that at the moment, saying, is a build around Quen effective? And the answer is absolutely. You will need to, I would say you would need to practice your crits, because you still want that extra interrupt and damage output, but you can turtle up. You can run a Quen build, entirely viable.
One thing I noticed though, and I only tested this a couple of patches ago, so don't quote me on this if it still works or not. But
I'm clipping this, by the way.
potions-
I'm going to clip this.
Potions don't affect Quinn, as in potions that affect the effectiveness of signs don't affect Quinn's reflect or shield skill.
Wow.
So if you pop a potion that is meant to increase the damage of a spell or a sign, Ard and Igni will do more damage, but Quinn's shield will still absorb the same amount because your health will still drop by the same amount, and it will not do more reflective damage.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's been changed or not, but just take that into account.
Okay, good to know. I think that's a good segue into kind of the AMA section of this session. So potentially we'll jump onto the YouTube video I put up, the Reddits, the Discords. I see people are thank you very much, Charney, for putting that in chat. If you do have questions for the guys, now is the time to jump it in. So Ship is another one. We'll lead off with that. Thank you very much, Ship. Is there an option in the game to make clans with your school for people to join in and make it more community friendly in game? This is kind of a basically PvP, PvE. Tarax, maybe you take this what is the answer, I suppose?
The answer is currently there's nothing in game like that whatsoever. I can't remember, it's been so long. You get assigned to a school at the start, don't you? You just get assigned to the Wolf School.
Yeah. Your very first quest is you graduate from the School of the Wolf. It's where they give you a medallion.
I think it's really interesting. In a sense, it seems inevitable. Like, what AR game hasn't added some kind of multiplayer something?
Absolutely.
I think it's how they'll implement it, given that, lore-wise, witches are inherently solitary, or at least they are in the later stuff that the games are structured around. So one idea I've seen is some kind of group-based training that you could do, which sounds great.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Whatever it is, I'll spend way too much time on it. So I think there's potential there. I think this is a company that will think long and hard about how to structure something that makes sense. I think now, from memory, they early on they stuffed up what all the swords did, if lore-wise, but I think they've fixed that now. They clearly pay attention to getting that kind of stuff right. And I can't imagine it will be that long until we get multiplayer. What will be interesting is if we get multiplayer combining with the questing system. You have to sort of go on group quests with people to do stuff. That'd be Right.
I'd imagine a natural progression on Nemeton would be, multiplayer raid, where you can invite your friends list in, and they can join you, or even global monsters. There's a few games that have done this before, where you've got a week to kill a monster. You can jump in or out anytime you want. It doesn't require you to coordinate to be battling at the same time.
Asynchronously asynchronously, is that what that is? It's like you can meet. I can bring your avatar and potentially Tarax's avatar in with me on a raid or something like that.
Yeah, or even there's a global monster that spawned, and you just end up attacking, taking out a chunk of its damage. As long as enough people attack it during the week, you defeat it, and everyone gets a reward. It just means you don't have to coordinate as much, given that this is a global game with different time zones. Not everyone's going to be on at the same time. Other than Tarax, I think I know maybe 2 people. I've seen 2 or 3 other people that play from New Zealand. So it is one of those, like, I don't have friends that play this game personally.
I'm going to crack on because we actually have a lot of questions to get through. I see people throwing them into Twitch. I want to go to the video actually because people who did put stuff in 4 or 5 days ago. So I have Blood Assassin asking, does the game feel grindy? And I know that's a kind of like Brock. Do you want to give me your opinion on what that means or what that feels to you?
All right. In terms of if you're not on a quest, quests are only recently implemented, so that's a brand new thing, and unless you're one of us who just hardcore goes for the quests, if you take it nice and easy, killing monsters, you'll see the same ones pop up all the time, sometimes, just because they are your bread and butter. And so you kind of feel obliged to kill them all the time early on because you're trying to get those levels, you're trying to get XP. And so it can feel a bit grindy because you're always killing the same ones. As they get easier, they become a bit more mundane. and it is. I mean, this is the bread and butter of the gameplay. So it can feel repetitive at times.
Yeah.
But there are enough different monsters that they are varied enough. The graphics are pretty cool. The attacks are quite different at times, and sometimes you have to be strategic about what you're taking down, especially with the more difficult monsters. But I think if you finished all the quests and you're just doing the levels to get XP, it can get a bit grindy. And I mean, unless you're a collector, you know, in which case you still gotta enjoy doing what you're doing.
Do you know any of these people, these weirdos? I'm not sure. Like,
I don't. I haven't met anyone like that.
I think from my own perspective as well, I think people have to remember this is like this is no disrespect to the game, no disrespect to the developer. It is a mobile game. Like I'm not sure it's designed to be played in like 5 hours. You know the way like sort of the console games, PC games, you might sit down for 3-4 hours to play a game a session. This is a game probably designed to play in like 20 to 30 minute bursts, couple of times a day, on your coffee break, on your morning walk, on your, you know what I mean? It's like, so it will get grindy. Like if you sat down to play this game for like 8 hours, I'd say by the end of that 8 hours, you'd be like, this is the grindiest game that's ever existed. But it's probably not designed to be consumed in that manner, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I do think what you said is great. The quests in this are like something else. Like I can't wait for more people to get an idea on them. I haven't played all. I've only played 1 or 2. Obviously the 3 intro and maybe like the good money quest where you like have to. Again, we won't spoil stuff, but just the interactivity of it and the way stuff goes. Anyway, I'm going to crack on because Blood Assassin actually asked 7 questions, but I'm going to move on. We might come back. Let's give someone else a chance. This is a pretty easy one. Zocker Marlin said, hey, I would like to know if there will be a reset for all players or if everyone keeps their progress. I heard some rumors there will be a reset, but I'm not sure. Brock, do you want to take that one?
There will not be a reset. So basically, that is a question that has been asked since almost day 1.
Yep.
And every time there was an update, that question would get asked again.
Yep.
And the same response has been given every time by Spocko support.
Yep.
And that was, if we need to do a reset, we will. And that's going to cover all. I mean, you expect it in a beta game. Like, if something catastrophic happens, of course they're going to reset the game. If there's a major change, you reset. There's not been a reset yet. I've still got my day 1 player. I've still got my day 1 avatar, everything. You name it, I've got the lot. There's been no reset, and I don't foresee a reset before global launch.
No, the one thing I'll just quickly add to that is that they haven't wiped progress, but what they have done a couple of times in the last few weeks is reset everyone's skill trees, and you can rebuild your skill trees again. So progress in this game is, you know, the bestiary and the quests and all of that, right? So that's doesn't look like it's going to be wiped, but they keep resetting our skill points. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then not telling us that they cost different points the next time around.
That caught me off guard too.
Yeah, everyone that went, oh wait, I don't have as many skill points anymore. I've spent them completely wrong, and they went, okay, you can have them all back again.
But apparently they are looking at adding in a scroll that allows you to reset your own skill points.
Okay. Yeah,
so that was hinted at.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I think that's kind of commonplace. I'll jump back to Twitch because I know somebody, Hunter Topaz, I think. Is there a level cap? And if so, what is that number? I'm so glad you guys are on the call because I don't know.
Well, yeah, so probably 40, but actually we don't know.
Okay.
I haven't seen. There's a few players who cracked 40 a couple of months back, and I haven't seen any of them online lately to ask. Oh, hang on, are you able to continue to their XP? But
King Hoppy's 40, if I recall.
Yeah, right. He would have said something. So maybe it's still 40.
He's in the chat. Well, he's in there somewhere. He still pops in every now and then. But yeah, he hasn't mentioned anything. But I'm sure they'll raise that cap.
What's worth understanding is that the level cap's sort of only one part of the equation. You know, you think, what's the level cap? Well, that's how far you can advance. Actually, advancement in this game is part leveling, part filling out your bestiary, which gives you skill points, right? So even if you were to hit max level, you've still got a lot of scope to get more skill points to unlock more skills.
Absolutely. And I think that's really cool. I made a point of that, I think, in a previous video where it's like, it's not tied to leveling. It's like it's tied to the amount of monsters you kill and of the different, right? Like you can't you can't just kill drowners all day, get to max level, and unlock everything. You know what I mean? Like you need to you find every monster, get out there, get hunting. The different this kind of segues into another question, like the different times of day, like that certain monsters appear up, and that might be a problem for some people. And like, you know, hey, I work that time of day, I can't get out and play the game, or you know, that's midnight here. You know, I'm asleep at that time. One of the questions, Chad Shishido, what time is dusk? Stuck on a quest that requires it to do at dusk. I've checked back every hour on the hour from 4 p.m. and the quest is just not doable. Can you give us an idea? Do you guys know when the times officially?
Yeah, so it's all. What's interesting about this game is that it takes your local time zone and season, I guess, into account, right? My dusk is about 5:30 at the moment, but that won't be yours.
Yeah.
You literally have to look at when the sun's going down over the horizon and do that.
Yeah.
What you can the game's a little bit buggy at the moment. If you look at that weather icon in the top left-hand corner, it will change when it's dusk and dawn to kind of an orangey color.
Yeah.
But you sometimes need to restart the game to get that to show up. Okay. So the best advice I could give you is, I don't know, go on your local weather site or app or whatever and look at when dawn and dusk is, and it's probably then. I think it lasts for about half an hour, 45 minutes in most places. But yeah, whenever that time is in your area, whenever that time is in your area, restart the app, see if the little weather icon changes. That's, it should be then.
Yeah. Nice. Actually, just to bounce back to the kind of leveling question, I missed out. Solid Spank, great name by the way. My only question, is there a limit to the amount of skill points you can get, whether leveling or otherwise?
There is a high limit.
Go for it, Brock. Go for it.
Yeah, you worked it out. But basically, every level you get 5 skill points, and for every tier of the bestiary of monsters you kill, you get 1 point. So 3 points per monster. If you've looked at the bestiary, there's 128 monsters, I think.
Yeah.
Well, there's some ridiculous number of monsters, so you get a lot of skill points that way. And this goes back to what you're talking about with leveling, where, you know, when you level, you don't get a higher hit point pool. You don't do more damage. What you do get every time you level is skill points, a couple of potions, and sometimes a scroll or two.
Yep.
And so there are things that will keep you going. Leveling is just to get you skill points for the most part, but you can get them through other means. But, you know, having to kill 150 monsters for that last tier 3 skill point, that's where a little bit of the grind comes in.
Yeah.
And so it's best to just kill, you know, the first 10 of each monster if you can. Or if it's a legendary monster, just the one, if you're lucky enough to find one.
Yeah.
And under the previous patch, you could there were more skill points than skills, so you could easily max out everything.
I had 120 points.
100 and something, I know. Yeah. The new system, I think, is a bit more balanced. It's really hard to tell this early on. I haven't sat there and done the math because, you know, whenever the reset happens, I'm too keen to look there and look at the cost of every single thing. I know the someone's active on the wiki and they'll add it all in at some point soon, and then we'll be able to figure it out. But my guess is that there's probably still more skill points than you need, but to max out everything, but it's going to take a longer time to get there.
That's good. I think I would hate this, like, you know, one of my fears for this game is that it's released and 3 days later somebody says, hey, I've all the skill points and I've done the story and there's nothing left in this game, you know. Now I don't think that's going to be possible, you know, unless they're playing it solid. I'm going to go back to Blood Assassins, 7 questions. So I'll pick one here. And this is one because I want to throw in my 2 cents as well. Here's, how do you feel about the combat of the game? Tarax, if you want to, you're going to go first there. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on the combat itself?
So first of all, I like the combat because it sort of works for me and I figured out a technique to do it. The combat's good. It is very twitchy, right? And one of my concerns for the game is that is going to turn too many people off because not everyone is a sort of a thumb or finger maniac, right? Yeah. But then what can they do, right? They've clearly built a system that's sort of as immersive or as similar as it can be to what's actually going on in the game. Yeah. Yes, you know, if you don't want to deal with that, the potions or the consumables will help you. So it's enjoyable. Like I said, the one distinction from other AI games is that a lot of the time you kind of have to stop and concentrate. You can't sort of just walk around doing things, or you can eventually, you know, if you play enough. But so it's good. But you know, there's one thing I was worried about that would put a more general audience off from the game. It's that because
Yeah.
not everybody wants to sit there madly swiping at their phone.
Brock, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I'll relate it to a couple of other games. So if you're looking at Pokemon Go, you're basically just, spinning a ball or throwing a ball up, which is quite simplistic. You just got to aim. You got Harry Potter. Basically, you've just got to follow a line or, kind of hit a target, which is very simplistic. And, it doesn't require too much skill, roughly. And then I had a go at the Elder Scrolls Online, the Elder Scrolls when that was mobile. I don't think that got very far. Is it Elder Scrolls Legends? Yeah, the AR game. Not AR, sorry, mobile. And that almost got it right because that had fast attack and slow attack and different weapons, but it felt a little bit clunky.
No, Blades.
And then
Chorney said in the chat,
Blades,
Blades.
yes.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls Legends
right.
is something else, is it?
Yep. But no, you're right, Blades. Yeah. That is the one. And I was playing that, and it felt a little bit clunky. Just the way it was done. It was a while ago since I played it. So anyway, this game comes along. I kind of figured out how the battle goes, and I actually enjoy it because you do have to time your moves. If you're doing slow attacks, you can kind of just pause for a bit and get a block in. Yeah. But if you don't time it perfect, you don't get a perfect block. And so, you still mitigate some damage, but it's not perfect. Whereas if you're doing fast attacks, you could still be in the middle of a swing before you go to block. And because your sword hasn't swung proper, you're going to miss that block. And so you got to time it just right.
Yeah.
And sometimes if your crit meter is almost full, you're going to do that extra swipe. You're going to fill the crit meter. And it's in the middle of an attack that you want to parry or your signs are coming up. And so you'll have a sign and a crit at the same time. And, well, you're going to balls it up.
Yeah.
You're going to get hit and you're going to miss the sign or whatever. It's all about timing this game and being really strategic in what happens and where. So you really do have to pay attention.
Yeah, and if you panic, you will fail. Yeah. How many times, Brock, have you sat there going, oh, I know I can just get one swipe. No, I'm dead.
Absolutely.
And then I lose the fight, I got to start again. And there's one. You get killed in this game, right? You can start again. That monster respawn is a recent addition, only if going back maybe less than 6 months. If you used to fail, that monster was gone. Right. So if you were going up against a legendary that you didn't have and you died, gone. Therefore, you would put everything you had into it, your highest resources. Yeah. And if you failed, it's gone. You lost everything.
Yeah, I don't really care though. You had like 36,000 gold at that point anyway, so it
yeah, but I didn't have that monster, and I might not see it again.
I don't care. You owned every armor and every sword in the game at that point because you basically farmed it. No, you both make very good points though, and I think it's probably my favorite part of the game is that sort of skill level. Like it's not a case I have limited experience with Pokemon Go. There is a skill to throwing the ball, and you can put spin on it and different types of balls, and I get that. Never played any of the other AR games. Don't know what Hit Wizards Unite is like. Not the Minecraft one. So this really makes me feel like a Witcher. Like the prep. I think we touched on it earlier in the game. You have to prep. Okay, maybe later when you're level 25, level 30, and you have a couple of skill points invested, you can chew through some of the common guys. You don't really have to block. You don't really have to do a crit. You can pretty much muscle your way through. But any monster that's worth killing requires you to have the oils, the potions, potentially the bombs, potentially the right sword. And then on top of that, you still can't just muscle through. Like you said, like the amount of times I've invested like lots into a monster and then I'm like, I'm going to get one more swing and boom. You know what I mean? Like you're like just before, and then maybe I'll try and go for the crit just as they're about to go, miss the crit, take the damage and die. Or try and hit the signs, go for a sign, and you get the timing wrong. It really is skill based, and you do genuinely get better. And I think that is one of the best parts. Okay, whatever bit its faults, and I'm sure there's many, and people have don't like this, don't like that. I think very few people could complain at the way the combat is built in this game.
You mentioned the immersion, Rog, and it's. If you're into that, this is the game for you. I left work a bit early the other day because I'm just going to finish quest. I really want to do it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to walk down to the harbour to talk to this guy. And I'm at the harbour talking to this guy. It's not quite right, but close enough. Oh, he's sending me off to a farm. Where's the farm? Oh, it's at New Zealand's Parliament. Okay, I'll go walk to the farm, and on the way I might earn a bit more gold. And you just sat there and go, hang on, I could pretend I'm being a witcher here if I wanted to.
Yeah. That's and in that same vein, when I first started doing the quests when they were implemented, I'm walking from A to B, but when the quests pop up, by the way, no spoilers here, but when the quests pop up, you've got this dialogue with an NPC that stands in front of you that's fully voice acted. You've got not quite cinematics, but hand drawn scenes with text on them that seem like a comic book that are also fully voice acted. And then you go and do the quests. The only difference is if I'm playing The Witcher 3 or something, I jump on Roach or I fast travel from A to B and I'm there in a couple of minutes. Here, I'm having to walk the distance between the quests and the objectives and all that. But the experience is the same. Like, it's really drawing you in. It's immersing you into that, which is really cool to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think like you said, it's a really good strong point. It's like it makes you feel like a Witcher on a quest. And as you said, like the immersion on the quest itself, of the limited numbers I've done, it's again, it's so cool seeing the things you have to do, like the little puzzles you have to solve, or even if they're just contextual. Like, again, I don't want to say anything about the quest, but the things you have to do to get to the next point of the quest makes you feel cool. It's a really cool experience.
And it's not just a straight A/B, one or two decisions. It's you've got multiple choices to make, and they affect the final outcome, which is permanent. It's not one of those, I'll just redo this to get the most optimal outcome. It's, this is what's happened. I mean, let's not talk about the bugs that have come up, but your actual decisions. So far, most people have seemed to have chosen the same decisions, but every now and then I see a different one. I'm like, I didn't do that.
Didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so again, coming back to Blood Assassin, he went to town on this YouTube video. Does it need character creation, or are you satisfied with just selecting your character? Tarax, you made the biggest face there. You go first.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but that's not really the thing that I care about. Often in RPGs, I'll be like, find default character, carry on. Especially because you don't see it all the time, right? You barely see your character. It's only when you're going into the the character screen, funnily enough, to swap out weapons or armor or something. So it'd be nice, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like a big necessary thing to me, and I worry that any kind of in-depth character creation would take away from other things they're working on, and like I said, it's not visible most of the time. So
what do you think?
Because I mean, it is a mobile game. There is a limited capacity to what you want to put in there. I mean, can you imagine sitting there spending an hour creating an avatar on a mobile game that no one's ever going to see? It's not shared with anyone, and you can barely see it yourself unless you go to the your character screen. Originally, you were able to change your avatar. I'm pretty sure they'll bring that back, but there's, I think, 4 or 5 of each male and female character type of different appearance.
I think it will matter if they bring out some sort of PvE, PvP stuff.
Just to personalize it slightly.
At the moment, again, all you can do really is share a screenshot of potentially the armor that you bought, and realistically there are only 5-6 armors, so like the customization is one of 6 things essentially, or 7, whatever the armor is. And like you said, the 5 male, 5 female skins, the amount of people who, like me, just hit the default and look the exact same as me when I go through my friends list, I'm like, okay, you guys obviously put no attention into this, just like I didn't. Let's get on with playing the game. I'm never going to see myself
but although
again.
I think you just said customization or something, so now I want Witcher hats. I want different hats for my Witcher.
Well, that's what I said. I said, like, if you're going to give like out rewards or like skins, again, we'll actually, it could be a good sidle into, like, I don't see any direct questions on this, but it is a question I'm curious to know more about, is like, what do you guys think about the in-game economy? You know, and like I know you guys, maybe you're the wrong people to ask because you own everything. But for somebody who
Not everything.
potentially, okay, maybe I've painted you in the wrong light here, guys. But from a scrub like me who has one extra sword and that's it, like, I'm curious to know like what you guys think about how much it cost. Like, I did rough maths. Like, it costs, if you want to get the best sword and the best armor. When I say best, I mean most expensive. Maybe they're not the best. That's €60. Like, it's something like, I want to say 35,000 gold, or sorry, no, 24,000 gold, or something
Not
like
bad.
that. I did the rough calculations in the game. It's not cheap, like, to get the best, the two most expensive things in the game, and then in time, if you wanna cross that with time, you know, if you're capped at 200 a day and you want to get 12,000 to get the most expensive sword, that's five. What's that? That's five times 12. That's 60 days, and that's assuming you're getting the 200 gold cap every single day. That's 2 months of grind just to get the most expensive sword, and that's ignoring storage. That's ignoring, you know, potentially getting your first silver sword and stuff. So I don't know. It's not really a question. I'm just more curious to know what your thoughts are.
No, you're right. The thing is, I've thought about this as well. Where you gotta, like, how much time are you willing to put into it? Are you spending any money on it? And it does come down to, is the amount you're getting worth the time you're playing for? Like, when it was unlimited, it makes things too easy. And it's that fine line that you got to walk, that if a game is too easy, how long are you going to play it for? Because now you've got everything. Now you've finished the game, and you're literally going to put that game down until new content comes out. So that could be months of you not playing the game or interacting with it, and therefore player base goes down, game won't disappear. Whereas if they give you too little, Pokemon Go, great example, 50 coins a day if you manage to stay long enough in a single gym. You know, you're grinding out a tiny amount every time you play. Whereas, you know, what's enough to keep you coming back? The latest changes seem to be all right. Well, you're limited to 3 Nemetones a day, which is 50 gold each, 150. The daily quests give you between 50, I think, up to 100 gold now. I know it's up to 80. And so you're getting a little bit more out of that. And with the quests that are in game now, you're also earning a bit of gold through that. And so that's a one-time kind of boost. I've seen that the swords in game cost 1,800 now instead of 2,000. So that's been a permanent price drop. That used to be the special price, not the permanent price. I think the high-end swords still cost a decent amount. The armors, I don't quite know what the pricing is. One of them for me is showing at 3,400. And so, yeah, it kind of, I kind of think, yep, put the time in, work for it a little bit, and it kind of makes the reward seem, you know, more like a reward. You've earned something, you've worked towards something, rather than, I spent 2 days playing and here it is. Or if you want to go easy mode, then, you know, you can buy whatever you need.
Yeah, but although the stuff you can buy doesn't have a massive impact on the game. You know, it's not really pay to win. You can't buy skill points, right? You can't buy things that let you defeat monsters that much easily. Yeah, technically, I suppose you could spend thousands of dollars on oils and oil up everything and smash through everything. But for the most part, because of the way the equipment's structured, you know, it doesn't feel pay to winny to me. The prices do look quite high. I noticed the sales are 50% off everything now. It used to be about 10%.
For the oils. Yeah, you're right. And
but it doesn't feel like they're gouging you. But that will probably feel different if you're just starting out, right? Like, oh, I really need a silver sword, or I really need to up my storage, although that's a trap.
Absolutely. Oh my god, talk about like immediately, like you can expand your storage by 1,000 tomorrow, and within 30 minutes you'll be like you're at 999, and every monster you hit says your storage. Anyway, that's a different story. Just to be clear here, I don't think that this is gouging. I wasn't trying to imply that this is pay to win. You make very good points. Having the best armor and the best sword will not let you defeat the best monsters. Like it you know, if you're no good at this game, you will still get stomped. Like I would like to see, and we have to acknowledge. I always, again, I'm going to sound like I'm a corporate shill here, but we have to acknowledge that like the people at Spocko have to get paid. Like they have to keep the lights on. You know, they have to. If you want them to keep producing content, you can't get mad that they try to charge you for something that you want. You know, like if it's charging you for something you don't want, or like you said, maybe actively gates part of the game away that you can't play because you're not willing to pay real money for. I think most people are on board with the fact that it's a mobile game, expect that they're going to be in-app purchases. I personally would like to see more sort of cosmetic stuff, like we were talking about hats, I think earlier, like, you know, whatever that might be, mini pets, you know, stuff that you traditionally might have been rolled out in other games that people are willing to spend €1 or two here for, like for, you know, a little mini pet, like a little
or things that don't impact gameplay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're just cosmetic. Yeah. I mean, baits were recently changed where now you can only buy baits in the store. You used to be able to create them and they were monster specific. They removed the monster specific part. You can't craft them anymore. That was removed. I'll assume they might reintroduce that at some point. But the only way to get a bait right now is to buy it. And it costs 200 gold. And the maximum you can get out of a Nemeton at a time is 50. And so it's a net loss of 150 gold for just one bait. But you don't get anything out of it. It doesn't progress you any further other than you've just added a couple of monsters to your bestiary. It's not part of a quest. It's not part of the gameplay. So it's not a gated item. So it's more of a choice that, I want to fight an extra one.
I've gone through quite an emotional journey in the last few days with how the baiting's changed, because that was how I was filling out my bestiary, right? I could bait Spectre, and you know what I'm talking about, Hubrock. I'd definitely get a Night Wraith or a Noon Wraith, and now it's like, well, I have to pay money for these things, you know, for my massive horde. And B, I can't choose what I get. But the way they've changed them, it sort of doesn't matter now, because you're not getting anything specific anyway. So I don't need to. I was running about 10 Nemetons a day for a while there, but there's sort of no point now because I can get all that stuff in the world just fine.
And some of the Nemeton, like I was doing the same. There used to be a stretch I'd do where I'd get between 10 and 12 in a single run. And I mean, I'm hitting these ones twice. And I made a bit of gold. I wasn't going out gold farming. Half the time for me, it was I'm just going to add a few monsters to my bestiary. I like carrots over there. I'm a bit of a collector. I obsess over that shit. So just went for it.
Yeah. Nice one.
That's worth noting, actually. Prior to the latest patch, you could only bait a Nemeton once, so you had to move around. You couldn't do what you can do now, which is throw down as many baits as you want on one.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Again, it's all balanced, right?
Spot, which, by the way, if you're looking to level up, here's a little pro tip for you. Pop an XP scroll, get a bunch of baits, and just sit under that tree. 45 or half an hour, is it, for a scroll?
30 minutes.
Half an hour just smashing out those monsters. You're going to have a great time. And with the armor and XP sword, you will be smashing out that XP.
Even without that equipment, you'll still, if you want to level fast.
Okay.
Sit on one of those.
I know we said earlier, I've kind of come to the end of the number of questions that I can find on YouTube. I don't see many on Reddit. Are there any other questions that you guys see quite commonly? Anything like that pops up every now and again? I know a lot of the questions get asked quite regularly, like, you know, will there be a reset? Will there so it's coming out on Wednesday, which is the 21st. Sorry, go ahead. Apologies.
I was going to say, it's not a question per se, but one thing I see a lot of comment on is around the difficulty some people have with some creatures and the animations. As weird as this sounds, the game only has about, I think, maybe half a dozen different movesets for the monsters if you ignore the animation. So if you're finding certain creatures difficult, don't look at the animation of the creature. Just pay attention to the little attack icon at the top. And, you know, I can't quite do it with my eyes closed, but, you know, generally speaking, every fight is the same, right? If it's a strong attack fight, you can get 3 strong hits in, block, and then, because I've got certain skills unlocked, I'm then going to generate a crit on the next hit, and so on and so forth. It's, you know, if you're having a hard time, because the Archer Spore, for example, is doing your head in because of the way it wiggles around and animates like crazy, Just
It's a
don't pay
slightly
attention to
slower
what it's
attack.
doing. Just trust your instincts and your timing, and because they're exactly the same.
I'm so happy it's
No,
not
that's the
just
thing.
me.
The arc-
I'm so happy it's not just
No,
me.
no.
Those guys are like evil.
I'm gonna contradict you on this one. The Archospore is slightly off in its timing. You can get 4 strong attacks in.
I don't care.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd say I
you can
missed the
interrupt
block.
it. You will.
I'd say I missed the
So-
block like 7 times out of
That-
10 with those guys.
Oh.
Whatever way they
And
attack.
Yeah, and some of the Draconids, and I think some of the gargoyle type monsters, you can get almost 3 attacks in, depending on how you started.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's
Sometimes they'll
about
hit
6 patterns.
so there's this slight kind of half-second tweak on some of the monsters that just throws you off a little bit.
Yeah, that's when you get
It's
smashed.
frustrating.
That's when you get smashed.
Yeah. Yeah, you think I can do it, I can do it,
Yeah.
and then you get smashed.
And then I can't. Yeah, for me, it's the Sylvans, those little fat satyr-looking guys.
Yeah.
Every time
Yeah.
I'm like, I can get no, I can't get another hit in.
Yeah.
But before we move on,
and that's-
guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Habrock.
Oh, that's the same with when you're attacking. So after that initial attack, if you manage to get a crit in, you know exactly when that next attack's going to hit. If you manage to get a sign in, you know exactly when that next attack's going to come through.
Yeah.
So once you get that first hit in, you can start timing it from then onwards because it becomes a little bit more predictable.
Yeah.
Having said that, Spocko, don't change that, please. You're going to kill my game.
Yeah, this game plan. Nerf him. Oh, actually, cool. We got two questions in chat. Thank you very much. Prevadius or Prevalidus one. A big part of the game for me will be the storyline and quests. Have you found this aspect at the forefront in the beta or a growing area of the game?
Oh,
Brock, do you want to go first? What do you think? You found this aspect?
story. Well, in the beta, like since September, there were only 3 quests up until about a week ago, and those 3 quests got you through pretty quick.
Yeah,
and that was it for ages. There's no quests, no story, nothing, no overall anything, other than you meet the merchant and you're just traveling with him. And you know, it's the typical Witcher merchant or Witcher bard type kind of interaction where the Witcher is very stoic, kind of monosyllabic, and the bard is singing and annoying. Yeah. So you just think of the Witcher TV show if you haven't seen that.
It's very much like two very prominent characters that everyone will know from every Witcher scenario. It's very in the same vein.
And so it's quite funny to see that interaction. It's grown now that they've introduced quests. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere on the official Discord that they're looking to make it seasonal in terms of quests. So you know, this is season 1 of the quest line. We're going to introduce another season later on, and you know, keep introducing more of the story as it goes. Like, I'm not sure if where I'm at right now with the quests, that's the end of the current story, but it's left me with a little bit of a cliffhanger where I've gone, hang on, what did you just do to me? And come back. I'd like a word with you. No spoilers. So, but you're kind of like going, what? So there is a story being introduced, and some of the quests, while they don't seem to be interconnected, connect up at the end, or they refer to each other.
Is that a spoiler?
Like,
That's a spoiler. That's a spoiler.
It's kind of a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler. Just, there seems to be threads weaving through these quests where you're like, oh, they're not just standalone. It's not just, you know, that over there and this over here. It's okay. You are literally walking around an area of a map that seems to be part of a greater community that you can't really see.
You the quests are they're the most kind of unique part of the game if you played other AR games, right? So if you've never, you'll jump into this and you'll start doing the quest and you'll be like, this is completely different. And I suspect that if you wanted to, you could play this game and just come back each season to do the new quests. There's a few things that are sort of a bit require a certain kind of skill level or certain level, but you know, I think it'd be an entirely viable way to play to, you know, every time there's a new season of quests, just come back and do that if you don't want to stick it out in between times and do all the bestiary grinding.
And everyone's going to have a different experience because all the quests have different options that you can follow through on. So
although I will say, if you're a Witcher nerd, having a bit of knowledge of the lore will help you out with the quests. Like you can kind of predict where stuff's gonna go.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
And kind of the general feeling of the whole Witcher thing. So it's about the greater good. It's not just about helping one person, but helping all the people. So there's a couple of those quests in The Witcher 3, and they talk about it in the series, and it's in the books.
You haven't finished The Witcher 3, so what do you know? You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I did the first part. The first part, I think I went the wrong way, and everyone knows it.
There's no wrong way.
As a full caveat, the first time I played The Witcher 3, I discovered that the Gwent minigame was in it, and then a friend of mine made a joke. Is like, if you play The Witcher 3 for long enough, you'll discover there's like this really cool RPG mechanic that evolves around the Gwent game. Basically, I rode from tavern to tavern collecting all the Gwent cards and completely forgot about the main quest, and then eventually stopped playing the game. The second time I came back, I was like, no, Roger, you're not going into the tavern and collecting the cards. You have to figure out what happens to this poor girl and this guy, this Witcher dude.
In the early part of the release of the mobile game, someone actually suggested they should introduce Gwent into it.
Yeah, that's probably a bad idea.
It's already a mobile
I
game.
know. That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. And for me personally, yeah, I think the story game is what sets this apart from all of. I think everyone would agree with that. Like, there's no other AOR game that has this kind of story mechanic, and
nothing like it.
Genuinely, I will say, captivating. Again, from the experience that I've had with it, is and this is only because I've been on holidays for the last few days. I haven't had a chance. I was like, I don't want to play the game. I want to do the story stuff, like, So yeah, absolutely is and I look forward to the season-based stuff. And as you said, playing the story also rewards you gold and stuff like that. So it's also incentivizing it. Submarine Man asked a question that we kind of already answered on stream, but we'll do it really quick. Do you guys think they will add co-op features eventually to PvP, raid skills, etc.? And what do you think will work well on this game? We've kind of made our feelings felt on that, so you can check back on the I'll upload this to YouTube later if you want to get an answer to that. Basically, there's nothing in there now. I think everyone would agree we would like some form of PvE, maybe not PvP, because again, that might be kind of against the lore.
Parody.
Yeah, against lore. I think some sort of like, there are elements in the game where Witchers will team up to do some things, but generally Witchers are kind of solo. I'm going to call them solo monsters, but they're not monsters unless you're a certain sector of the Witcher, unless you're witch hunters or something like that. So that's kind of it. Is there any other questions before we move on to the last section of this? We won't spend too much time. I think we're going to do another 20 minutes, 30 minutes, unless more questions come in. Any other questions, guys, that you've seen come up pretty commonly? Anything else I've missed? I'm just trying to remember. Like, I've checked the YouTube, I've checked Reddit, I've checked the Discord. I feel like we've kind of hit the major points that most people want to know outside of like bug fixes and story elements and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think you sort of mentioned it in passing, but when you're starting out, because I don't think the training makes this very clear. You have to lift your finger between each swipe of the sword. People can miss that and try and kind of scribble, which won't work.
You mentioned this figure 8 pattern originally, and I've never seen that. Was that something that was in the original sort of tutorial?
Hourglass pattern,
it was an hourglass pattern.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Which was, I don't know if that worked for anyone or not.
Maybe it's
I don't know if it's that.
Maybe it's a pro level strat. Yeah. Pro level strat.
I mean, just generally.
Was bombs. Oh, here's one. Bombs. People underutilize them far too much because they used to be really weak and you used to have to throw them. So you'd have to hit the button and swipe up. And that was annoying because
I didn't know that. Like Pokemon, essentially. You'd have to.
Yeah.
And could you miss?
Yep. And the thing is, you wouldn't miss, but you could miss swipe. And so the bomb would never throw. And you'd have to wait because there was a delay in when it landed and exploded. And so you could mess that up and you'd get absolutely ruined for half your health in the first couple of seconds because you're not blocking or attacking.
Yeah.
Now you just tap the button and it automatically throws.
Yeah.
But they buffed the damage to bombs a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And with a fully buffed bomb and skill tree and all of that stuff, and if you've got a potion that increases all your damage, say it's raining or it's nighttime, a single appropriate bomb of the right damage, let's say it does silver damage plus its kinetic damage, will literally wreck a monster for over half its health. Like, it does massive amounts of damage. I think it's 800 damage plus 500 and something. And then if you skill into bombs, it can do up to 10% of a monster's damage on top of that.
Yeah.
So if you're having trouble,
they are good.
pop a few bombs.
Yeah.
Like, you'll absolutely wreck a monster. I've started using them again just because, I got very lazy and complacent in my gameplay. And just, I'm not going to lie. I used to drive around with my phone in its little car holder, and I'd just be swiping off to the side. I'd be driving, not even looking at my phone, and I'd be killing monsters.
You do know there's like an alert when you log in: do not like drive and play this game. Please be aware of your surroundings.
And the thing is, I wouldn't even have to look at the game to play it. That's how easy it got at the point, and which is, probably a good/bad thing that Meltith was nerfed, because it was just ruining everything in my path. Now it requires some skill. I can't drive and play. Also, I've got Siri in the car with me, so I can't do anything like that.
Okay.
So I've got to be responsible.
Another question.
Someone's asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
You go. I was just going to say, someone's asking in the chat around whether it's a good idea for the game to have like a monthly subscription.
Monthly sub.
And I was just thinking, what would a monthly sub look like in The Witcher? I guess you could get consumable drops every something or other.
So that kind of goes to the old VIP thing in game, doesn't it? Where you pay a monthly sub, and every day when you log in, you've got a little gift waiting, something like that.
It's like the battle pass that a lot of games have employed.
Yeah.
So like, I know, like, previously having played Gwent, like the Gwent battle pass was, there's 2 tracks. There's the people who decide not to pay, and there's rewards every track. Every level that you go through. And then
that's still there.
People that you pay. Yeah, no, and I actually kind of like that. It's like, I want to opt in for a few extra cosmetics, maybe a few extra gold cards or something like that. Oh, you've gone sideways, Brock.
Oh, no. What happened? I know what I've done.
No worries. No worries. It was working. Why do you keep touching things? Don't worry.
No.
Don't worry about it. Take your time. No rush.
It's all right. The stream's. Oh no, it's not.
There you go. You're back. You're back.
I've lost your image. Is the problem? You're gone from my screen now.
We can see you. So stop touching things. Everything looks good, sounds good. Stop touching. I think I like a battle pass idea. I maybe not specifically to this game, but in theory I like battle pass. It's like, hey, I'm going to commit a certain number of euros for the next whatever season is, whatever month, 2 months, 3 months, and with that, if I continue to play, I can get cool in-game cosmetics, maybe a few extra resources here and there, crafting, like you said, maybe a few potions, but the person who chooses not to pay can still get some of those, like every 1 in 5, you know what I mean? Something that, makes them like not feel left out, or that they're falling behind. So I think that's a great question. I think battle passes are not a bad thing. I think monthly sub is kind of a different question. I'm not sure I'd play a monthly sub for a mobile game. I've talked for quite a bit there, Tarax. What do you think?
Yeah, look, it's again, I'm still kind of wrap my head around what that would look like. But if it was you're paying for a sort of a certain amount of consumables a day or something like that. There's one game I played, one of those Japanese mecha fighting games, did that, where you would pay for a week or a month worth of sub, and every day you would get something, in-game currency or consumables or whatever. I mean, sure, absolutely. I could, given what's in the shop at the moment, it wouldn't be hard for them to structure something around that. Here's 6 bombs and some potions and some oils for the week. Away you go. Which is ultimately paying for something that you could achieve in game anyway, too, right?
Yeah.
With enough time versus money. So
yeah. JWA, and I just googled it, is Jurassic World Alliance. Is it Jurassic World Alive? Excuse me. I typed in JWA into Google there, and I got like John Weldon Auctioneer. So I was like, what is this game? Big ups to John Weldon Auctioneers. So, a game I haven't played. Have you guys any experience in Jurassic World Alive?
No,
I
it's the
gave
one AR
that.
game.
Yeah, I tried it for just a couple of days. I'm not sure. It didn't really draw me in. But then this is early days of AR games. I didn't know what I was doing, what the mechanics were, and it just, I don't know, it just wasn't working for whatever I was doing. Like it just, I just don't think I got it at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I put the time in to learn how to do it because whatever resources I had, I ran out of immediately and just went whatever.
Yeah. Interesting to see they've gone that sort of monthly sub route. Be interesting to see in the future. I had a brief flash there that Prevalidus was actually one of the Spacco team, and they're doing like a test on us. They're like, let's see what the audience think about let's float the idea of a monthly sub and see what they say.
I mean, monthly subs. When you're looking at things like MMOs, like the big MMORPGs, you need a massive player base to still pull that off. Given the amount that have gone for free, they're free to play now. With the option to go monthly sub, Battle Pass, I kind of get. It does kind of lock you in to having to log in every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for people that can't always do that, to get into a Battle Pass system or a monthly subsystem, if you can't log in every day, then whatever you're paying for, you're losing or you're missing out on because you've got to log in every day to collect that reward. Skip a day and now you've got less for what you paid for.
Yeah.
And so it's, a fine line to walk.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier in the stream, if you're only playing this game at 20-minute bursts rather than 5 hours a day, where's that going?
Yeah.
So
I think it has to be. Yeah, I think there has to be like a balance between like those people who want to pay and those people who don't want to pay, and the people who want to pay potentially should have access to a slight bit more. Generally, cosmetic stuff. I think we'd be agreed. Nothing that helps them like level faster or maybe do more, do better than the free to play player. The Prevalidus said a very good point. Lots of stuff going on regularly. Highly competitive, way better than it was to start, and keeps getting better. I have to imagine with a more regular revenue stream, a company can hire more people, produce more content, and potentially improve the game. So there might be that balance there. And again, it always comes back to like, how much do you want to pay? That's maybe we're kind of getting sidetracked. I think we could do a whole other side podcast on like free to pay to win, game economy and stuff like that. But thank you so much for that question. That's a great question. For the last, I suppose, 10, 15 minutes, maybe. Look, I don't want to put a limit on this, but I also don't want it to go on for 3 hours as well. I wanted to talk about like future dreams for the game, hopes. Like, what do you want to see come from this game? Fears, like good things that you think is happening right now, bad things. Like I don't want to be afraid of like criticisms. That's a very like big question, but I don't know. Tarax, do you want to go from there?
Oh, look, I want 8 to 10 more tears in the bestery, so I can just keep I guess my
there are dozens of us, dozens.
I haven't even got all the monsters yet.
Yeah, I know. The only concern I haven't touched on before is that, best case scenario, we get a huge player base in this. We get people coming in from the TV show and the books and all of that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like, it feels a bit like a gamer's game. It doesn't feel like really globally. It's not Candy Crush, right?
Yeah.
So I hope they can balance a decent sized player base without sort of nerfing the mechanics so much that it becomes too easy. And striking the balance for them, because as you said, they have to make money. I think what will be the trickiest thing, because there we go. Right, now everyone's going to ignore me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got my YouTube thumbnail. There we go. Easy.
All right. Sorry, I had to do that real quick because she's doing her own thing.
Striking that balance between keeping the gameplay largely as it is at the moment, which is, as we've all talked about, challenging, but accessible enough that it does, build up a decent sized player base and can be maintained. That's what I think about in the future of this game. Otherwise, it's all the stuff we all want: more quests, more bestiary, more potentially some more combat mechanics. I know everybody talks about we want to see the other signs that aren't in the game yet.
Yeah.
It does my head in because how those other signs work, how that would even work in this game. But yeah,
That's not your problem to work out, Rax. Like it's your
No,
it's your job as a gamer to complain and moan about it and worry about it as someone else's. It's someone else's problem to figure out. All right.
And I think more ways to kind of complete stuff in that more core mechanic will be good, which I imagine they'll do as they sort of tinker with the Nemetones and so forth. Because what's been interesting about being in the beta is that because the mechanics have changed so much, it has kept it interesting.
Yeah.
And the fact that, one day the best way to find those extreme legendaries was this, and then the next day it's that, and then you got to slightly modify your playstyle. I don't know how viable that is long term for a game to keep doing that, obviously, but just more different ways to kind of complete content in the game would be good.
Brock, what do you think? Hope for the future.
Big fan of the questing system. It's unique. It's something that's made me feel like I'm playing a PC game, but I'm out in the wild. Like I'm having to walk the distance, which, big fan. So there's an overarching storyline by the looks of it. I'd like to see that made a bit clearer. If there is one, that is. Or maybe they're just teasing for it. So that's just a huge aspect. Like, I'm an RPG player. I love that sort of thing. In terms of multiplayer, I'd rather see co-op play than player versus player. At least not direct player versus player. Like, I don't want to fight Carrots because he'd ruin me. Like, I'm not that good a player. If I go up against him,
no lies here.
we're having a battle, then he's going to probably win. He'll throw the last bomb. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing something like a leaderboard. On a given day, let's say there's a community day event or something like that. You've got a monster hunt on. Kill X amount of this monster, or who can kill the most amount of this specific type of monster. And it means you get out and you go and kill this monster, and then you've got a leaderboard. And maybe rewards based on that. Nothing that's going to be, well, maybe it should be unique, maybe not. I don't know. That's up to them to decide, as long as people don't feel like they're missing out. But you get multiplayer, you get some type of co-op, monster hunting going. Like, I was going to mention a quest at the moment, but I'll refrain from that. Another one was global monsters that I mentioned earlier. You can do something like that. Who knows? That's kind of the PvP side of things. Hang on. This is the one that doesn't help me hunt. But there's a lot of them.
Don't tell me that's like Dandelion or somebody like that.
Hey, this is Lydia. Hello. But yeah, I like the co-op aspect of multiplayer, where you're not just competing with other people, or it's a friendly competition. This is bait. Yeah, she's emergency food. But you fight together to kill something. So like I mentioned earlier, you've got a monster that sits around for a week that you chip away at its health, or you bring other people in to fight with, or you increase even what Nemetone are able to do. So let's say I go to a Nemetar, it's beyond extreme. Let's say it's a raid style. And I just pop a message out and say, right, who's keen? Invite people into it, like some of the current raid systems have going. And I can get a global player base to come and help me kill this one thing, and we all get rewards.
I like that aspect, with a sort of an AFK sort of aspect to the game. When you're not playing, your stuff can be used by other players. That would be cool.
Same with signs and battles. Like, the current fighting system is strong and fast attacks. I mean, you could potentially add a third, but why complicate that system? But with signs, there's still a couple of signs that haven't been introduced in the game. Chuck them in. A wider variety of potions and scrolls that offer different things. I mean, not everything's been implemented yet. I'm sure they've got many plans. Odds are they've got, a good 2 years worth of content that they want to implement, given that they're a proper development studio. They've got a list of things they want to put in, but you can't put everything in it. Sorry, you can't put everything in it, once.
This is great content, Brock. This is great content.
There's another question in chat from Prevalidus one saying, not having read the Witcher books and only knowing some stuff, there's a lot of potential in the game if it follows the other games and books and TV shows. One thing that I'm not sure how apparent it is in the game, but this game is set before all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Quite a decent time before. So
I don't want to put spoilers in, but
yeah. Hang on. And
you do get a time frame for it because of some people that you meet.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is spoilers, and I'm not convinced either.
Yeah.
But there's also this new Witcher board game being released.
Yeah.
Soon. That's set in the same time frame, and I was like, oh, are they going to really expand this part of the history and the lore?
Yeah.
I haven't read all the books. I've only read the first part. It's not something they really get into in the books as I understand it. So, there's potential for quite a bit of world building here, multimedia across different things. Of the companies that have it are kind of fixating into that this prequel time period. Call it whatever you will.
Can you imagine if they do a tie-in with Witcher TV series?
Yeah, I mean,
your new avatar is Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I mean,
that will happen. That will absolutely happen.
Oh my god! Well, absolutely. Like, I suppose that series is coming out in December. Like, we've got 6 months, 7 months, or sorry, 5, 6 months between now and then. Like, you have to imagine there's going to be some sort of cross promotion. I think just I think. And just on that, you don't have to do the book. You could add armor from the Witcher 3 game. Like, the vast majority of content we have about the Witcher comes from the games. Like, there is only limited information in the books. Like, there's not a huge amount of books. They're generally short stories. There's a lot there. There are characters and there is lore. But correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of that is expanded on in the games. Am I right in saying that?
The games are set after the books. So the games, we're really in spoiler territory.
Yeah, I know. And we don't have to go down the rabbit hole here, but
the PC games, Witcher 1, 2, 3, are all set almost in a kind of a what if alternate timeline after the books.
Yeah.
Whereas the TV show is, as far as I can tell, just retelling the books.
So yes.
So there's almost these 3 distinct time periods, right? Yeah. There's the books, there's the PC games and Gwent, which happen after, and then there's the time period for this one, which is kind of prequel to the books.
It's
and
really
they
cool.
bleed over quite a bit.
And that's actually a weird thing, because I was listening to the audiobooks as I was playing The Witcher 3, and it's like I was like, wait, which timeline am I in right now? When I go back to the book, and I'm like, wait, I killed that person in the game, but now they're alive in the book, and I'm like, oh god, where are we now? Anyway, just kind of back to our hopes and fears. Like, I really hope this game kicks off. I think part of me believes this is a sleeper. Like, this is a sleeper hit. Like, this is a pretty big game franchise, book franchise, and now TV franchise, with a pretty big actor attached, I can see a lot of people maybe bounced off The Witcher, the series. Like, I think they could have done a better job at making it more approachable for regular audiences. Like, they don't clarify the different timelines, and the 3 different stories are happening across 3 different places. Like, if you remember, like, when Game of Thrones had just a dense sort of lore, but I think it presented itself in a lot better way. Like, it literally had Winterfell on the screen when we went to Winterfell, and it went King's Landing when we went, and it it had characters literally point to people and go, oh, that's the mountain, or oh, that's Jaime Lannister. You know what I mean? Like, it literally did a lot of that. Even the credits had the map. You know what I mean? So I think The Witcher sold itself short of it. Anyway, I think it's a bit of a sleeper hit. I really hope the game kicks off on Wednesday. I really hope it gets traction. I hope the team who made this game get the support they deserve, and I also want people, and I actually feel like I'm going to make a video about this later on a different day, is like, manage your expectations, people. This is a mobile game, not the second coming of Christ. Like, this is The
Witcher 4.
It will be good. It will not be the greatest thing that's ever happened to mobile gaming, and I mean no disrespect to anybody there. I just think people need to manage it, because we already I do, it kind of irks me when I see people in chat who have already decided to delete the game, having never even played the game. Like, like I'm due to a decision that they have maybe seen as a Discord comment or a Reddit comment, and I just gamers TM tend to kind of get a little bit overhyped on certain things that maybe potentially need to apply a little bit of logic, but
like you say, manage your expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good game, but it's a mobile game.
Yeah,
and have fun with the game for for what it is. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
get out there, try it. If you don't like it, don't
Yeah.
play it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If this is not for you, delete, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And then
All right.
anything else there I wanted to say on terms of like hopes and dreams. Yeah, again, as I said, I hope the game gets the support. I hope we get to see, like we talked about, seasons. I personally hope we see. I think the game will need some form of PvP social element other than just sending presents to one another. Whether that is like lore breaking battling, or or lore breaking raids. Again, I can sacrifice the lore if it makes for a better, more enjoyable game.
Well, I mean, it was mentioned when we first killed an unseen elder that you shouldn't be able to kill them.
What?
So
I've never seen one of those, Habrock.
Oh my god!
But
right.
once we do finally spot one, you should be able to bring in your mates to kill it as a raid.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's actually because this is in that sort of pre-time. There's a lot of scope for them to do whatever they want, right? I'm not deep lore, I don't know, but I imagine if they, it could be that because there were way more witches around then, you would have massive multi-witcher battles because there's some animosity between the witcher schools in the lore. So yeah, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yep. One thing I do want to say is Bocco have done an amazing job in putting this game together. I mean, the fact that they managed to convince CDPR to, let them use the assets and put it together, and with the quests, great bunch of development there.
Yep.
One thing that's kind of flown under the radar, and I've been wanting to mention it for a while, but I held off just for the stream. One of the greatest quality of life improvements in the game to date, and it was a requested feature for so long that so many people mentioned. If you go into your alchemy tab and you've got all your ingredients there, you can now click on the little trash icon, which has been made larger, which makes it easier for you to trash your stuff.
Because your inventory fills up in 12 seconds. Yep.
Yeah.
It was one of the biggest grinds where you're trying to hit the little trash can and everyone kept missing. And it would just open up the information screen.
Right.
So thank you, Spocko, for changing that. It's made life much easier, especially since our bag space is a little bit more limited now.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit more strategic.
Yeah. All right. Guys, I think that's been a pretty good stream. Pretty good. It's an hour and 40 minutes, hour and a half. I think we'll leave it there for now. Again, as I said at the beginning, hopefully this is not the last of these. I know you guys. Thank you so much for jumping on. I know we're in different time zones. It's the guys are.
Thanks for organizing.
The guys are in the future right now for most of us.
Yep. It's amazing here.
Yeah, so they're on. They're in Sunday right now. I'm in Saturday. It's weird. But thank you for everyone who asked. A brief shout out. I actually turned alerts off here for the people who actually followed the channel. When we were streaming there, I normally big stuff comes up and flashes on screen, but I see Cooper Firewalk, Prevalidus, Kiarmi, Hunter Topaz, Everus, Submarine Man, and a few other people have followed me in the last 24 hours, so I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, like guys, I have to admit, like you guys kind of poked me to get this underway. I'm glad we got it together. I'm glad it worked out time-wise. Again, I hope we do this in the future. Big thank you to everybody who's liked my stuff, subbed to my stuff, commented on my stuff. Big shout out to the boys, Tarax and Habrock, for constantly answering the same questions over and over again in the Discord channels. Spocko Games need to make these guys mods or like pay them a wage at this point for every time they answer. Like, will content be held over on the release? I mean, you guys should get like a $5 every time you answer that question.
What is the best sword and armor?
Yeah, what is the best sword and armor? Actually, yeah. We'll have to do a co-op or make a video on that, and then like disagree immediately. Like, but yes, everybody, thank you so much. You guys can just stay in the call. I'm gonna end the stream in a second. But thank you everybody for jumping on the stream. Thanks everybody, and I'll if you're watching on YouTube later on, feel free to follow me over on Twitch. We'll hopefully run more stuff like this in the future. So peace out, guys, and I'll chat to you later. Guys and girls, thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. If you have the time, feel free to check out the other videos you might see on screen right now. Also, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up button. Also, subscribe if you want to see more good content like this. That good content may not be that good.